Boards and booze, booze and boards, drinks and beers, fight some hordes. Drank too much, forgot our swords, ran back home, filled our gourds, got drunk again, sang some chords. Boards and booze and boards, with Mickey and Jeb.
And when he opened his board game, he saw that there was no first player token. Woo!
Jeb, what are you doing?
I thought we were doing ghost stories today, Mickey.
Ghost Stories, the game. Not you telling ghost stories.
Oops.
Come on, Jeb.
I misunderstood then.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
It's Jeb as a ghost
And
and
Mickey,
Mickey
as the person.
as a normal person. And today's game is Ghost Stories.
Yep. This is a up 2 to 4 player. Well, maybe
1 to
even
4
1
player.
to 4 player.
1 to 4 players, so you can play this solo.
Yep. Cooperative.
Cooperative, about an hour, and Antoine Bauza. Can you say that?
Sure.
B-A-U-Z-A.
Yep. And the whole premise of the game is us trying to send what's his name, Wang Fu back to hell.
Yes, we have to exorcise him.
Yeah.
And save the village. And it's a tough one.
Oh yeah, it's one of those you're gonna play it a few times before you get it. So.
If you win the first time, congratulations. But it is kind of cool. The mechanics for since you can play it solo and up to 4. As a matter of fact, you actually always play it 4 because there's always you fill in the slots with dummy players.
Not me, right?
Yeah, not you, Jeb. And not as a ghost. No ghosts. Okay, yeah. Wow. Alright, so anyways, it's Ghost Stories today. We'll be back in a minute with setup, components, and all that good stuff. And then we will have Kim join us for a 3-player game. So you'll at least be able to see how the dummy mechanic works. Haley isn't here today. But it's probably good that you get to see the dummy mechanic works the same way.
Yep.
No matter how you play it. So,
All right.
So we'll be back in a minute.
Yep.
Okay, so we're back, and so right now we're just going to go over the components of the game. Just a real brief explanation of what they're for, how they work. Not totally how they work. We'll do that during setup, just so you guys have an idea of what you're dealing with here. So the first thing is the player tiles, which the game board basically for yourself. So here's an example of the game board. You have 3 spots where ghosts are going to come out. You're going to set these up in a square formation, and the village is going to be in the middle. They're double-sided, and each of them have a unique power down here, and we'll get into more of that later, what all the symbols on the cards mean. Okay.
Next up are the village tiles, and these are all of them. I think there's 9, right? Because it makes a perfect square.
You always randomly put those outside.
Yep. On them, there's the abilities at that location, which we'll go over later. And then on the back side is just when they get flipped over, you notice how colorful
that means
they are.
They got haunted when they get flipped over.
Yeah, so you can tell the difference.
And the next thing we have are the Tao dice. The Tao dice are the normal white dice.
Oh, Mickey, what's that gray Tao dice?
Oh, well, Jeb, I'm glad you asked. This is the special Tao dice. One of the abilities of one of the sides of the player boards gives you an extra die. That's the one I usually take because I suck so bad at rolling dice.
And then we've got the black die, which is the curse die, and bad things happen with that.
Other than the blank side, there's pretty much nothing good about that die.
Yep.
Alright, cards in the game. So we have 2 decks. The first deck, their black backs are all the ghosts. And you'll notice that the ghosts are 4 different colors. And they have what they do on symbols down in the cards. And we'll get into that a little bit during setup also. We won't go over all that right now. But just know that these indicate what the ghosts do. And then you have also 10 cards that are, well, what's his name again?
Wu-Feng.
Wu-Feng. 10 incarnations of Wu-Feng, and the object of the game is to get to him and exercise him. That's how you win.
Over here are the different minis or figures or whatever. These are, we call them ghost figures, but I think there's a special term for it.
Technically, they call them haunting figures. I like they're ghosts.
Yeah, and then these 4 figures are the players, and then over here there are 2 Buddha statues that can be used in the game. We'll talk about that later as well.
Okay, so we have our inactive Taoist markers. These will get placed on your special ability on your board to remind you that a ghost has turned off your special ability, and that's bad.
Yep, and there's one for each player because
Yes.
there's 4 players, 4 colors. Below here, below those are the chi tokens, and they just say chi on them. So they are vitality for when we play.
So basically your life points. You're in trouble if you run out. You have Tao tokens,
Yep.
which are
The 4 or 5. There's
5
5 colors.
colors, and because black is, I don't know, call it neutral.
Yeah. There is the yin yang power, right? Isn't
Yeah.
it? Is that?
Yep, everybody gets a yin yang power. It's the best power in the game. You only get one, and it's hard to get it back once you use it. This is the neutral power token. And the last token is the enfeeblement token.
That doesn't sound good.
It's part of the yellow Taoist.
Oh.
Has an ability that uses that. It's not. It's, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's not a bad thing.
Okay.
So, and this is. Oh shoot, I forget what they call this, but this basically tells you it'll go on a village tile, and then that village can't do anything. It loses all its abilities, and it's a nice reminder because it's not flat; it sticks up, so you don't forget.
All right.
All right, so
let's do setup.
all right, so the first part of setup, which Jeb is going to do now, is he's going to randomly place the 9 village tiles out into the center of the table, and then what's going to happen is you can randomly assign the player boards, or you can decide what color you want to be. You can decide what power you want. Obviously random makes it kind of interesting. But anyways, the player boards all go like this. And then you have a nice field of play here. Obviously with the randomness of the village tiles, you get good replayability. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to shuffle up the Wang Fu, or however his name is said, the big bad guy. You shuffle the 10 cards.
Wu-Feng.
Yeah, Woof.
We're going to get that mixed up.
Anyways, you take one, and you shuffle the rest of your deck. Take 10 ghost cards. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shuffle the bad guy in and place the ghosts on top like that. And then you have your ghost deck or haunting deck, whatever you want to call it. And so throughout the game, cards are going to be picked, and you have to get to Wu-Feng to win the game. You have to go through the whole deck. There's no other way to win it. Also, yeah.
Also, we need to place the 2 Buddha figures into the temple, I think is what it's called. Yep. And then now everybody is going to get a certain amount of tokens to begin with. So what a player would get is they would start with 4 chi tokens.
So everybody gets 4 life. This part's pretty easy because a lot of it's just color coordinated.
This one is the blue guy that we're using as the example. He gets his yin yang token that's blue.
Right.
He would also start with 1 blue Tao token, and then 1 black Tao token. His figure. So
And he gets his blue figure, and then the token that shuts off his ability
Yeah.
if it ends up happening to him.
So we'll just throw that to the side.
So as you can see, everything's pretty much the only difference in the color is the black token. Everything else you just take one of your colors.
Yeah, so when all 4 people will start off in the center.
Center of the village. That's right. And then the rest of the tokens, etc., get just put to the side for a supply because they'll come in and out. You know, dice within reach of everybody, and you can put the incarnations back in the box or wherever because you won't need those anymore.
Yep.
So that is literally how you set up the game. So you have randomize the center, put the player boards around the side, deal out the starting things, the Buddhist, and how you make the deck.
And player abilities can either be random or you can pick whatever you want.
Yep.
It depends on your play style.
Yeah, we usually just pick. The game's pretty hard, but I mean, if you're lucky and you can beat it often, then maybe you want to start doing it randomly. Alright, so that's it for that. We'll get back with some explanations on how the mechanics work.
Okay, for an explanation of gameplay, I'll start with an overview, and the game itself just consists of rounds that each round has 2 phases, and you just keep playing the rounds until somebody, either the players win or they lose. So the round sequence consists of 2 phases, like I mentioned. There's a yin phase and a yang phase. The yin phase is the bad guy's turn, which comes before the yang phase, which is the good guy's turn. So for the bad guys, first we need to show you what a ghost card looks like so you can understand what's on it.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a few different ghost cards, but here's what a ghost card looks like, and here's a bunch of different colors. And if you'll notice along the bottom here, you can have symbols in these 3 spots. And it's not always going to have 3, sometimes it's going to have 1, and sometimes they're going to be in different locations. But in terms of what happens in the first phase, the ghosts are going to go first. And this middle power, if the ghost has that, that's going to happen. The power on the left-hand side of the card is a coming into play power. So that only happens when this card's drawn and it goes to the board. And again, the middle power happens every on that player's turn. The ghost that this is in front of, that power will go off, and then this is a reward for when this ghost is exercised. Then that power, and a lot of times that's actually a good thing. The symbol up in the top here is how you exercise the ghost, and we will get into that a little bit once we get to that step on the player's turn.
Alright, so the yin phase has 3 steps. Step 1 is called ghost action, and that involves the active player announcing the ghosts and their central stone abilities happen. So if there's any ghosts that have a central stone ability on the board, it's going to happen now. Just kind of announcing
Right.
what they do.
So if this card, this green card, was in front of the green player, which, if that card was there, he would have a ghost figure, Jeb. And there's actually pretty much only 2 symbols that activate in the center. It'll be a haunting figure. So let's say that this was already in play. That ghost would have been there. It's my turn. I announce that this green ghost is taking his action. I move that up 1.
Yep. So the different things that can happen, like Mickey was saying, the haunting ghost will update their position like he just did, where if there's one there that has that symbol, it'll move forward 1.
The other one is the picture of the cursed die.
Yeah, and that's called the Tormentor ability, and that one makes the active player roll the cursed die, and whatever you roll, there's a list of effects that what you get is what happens.
There is one more ability in the center. It's a shield with a colored dice, and that one actually doesn't do anything, but it protects that ghost.
It's kind of a...
Yeah, so dice can't affect him, so basically you're going to have to use tokens to get rid of him, or some other ability in the village or whatever. He's difficult.
Yeah. Step 2 of the yin phase is to check if the board is overrun. So to do that, you would check if all 3 spaces are occupied. If all 3 spaces are occupied on a player board, the active player loses a chi and doesn't do the next step. So.
And the next step is draw a card.
Yeah. So the next step is draw a card, or Arrival of Ghost, where you draw a ghost from the ghost deck, and you place the ghost on the color. Black would be active player. If you're unable to place it anywhere, or if you're unable to place it, then you'll place it anywhere.
So in other words, what he's saying is, if my board isn't overrun and I draw a card and I get red, I place it on the red board. If, however, it's my turn, my board isn't overrun, I draw a red card and the red board is full, then I can pick wherever I want, including myself, to put that ghost.
That's better explaining it than how I read it. So yeah, and then also if all 12 of the spaces around the board are occupied with ghosts, you will lose a chi instead of drawing a card. And that is all that the yin phase consists of. So after the yin phase is the yang phase, which is the player's turns, or the active player's turn. So
on your turn, you can move. So that you can move your Taoist from your current tile to an adjacent one. And in this game, diagonal movement is allowed. Some people, when they first start it, will forget that. And it's pretty important too.
Yeah.
So if I'm here, I can move here or anywhere around there. So that's movement. And it is only one. You don't get 2 hops. You only get 1, I believe.
Yep. The next step of the yang phase is to request help or exercise.
Big fat or.
Yeah.
Or. You don't get to do both.
So the requesting help is using the ability of the tile that you're on. So all of the tiles have abilities, and we won't go through all of them right now, but during the gameplay we'll explain what they do when we activate it.
Right, because it's a lot. It's a lot. But what I will say right now about this game is the cheat sheet is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's very, very clear. So if you don't, a lot of the symbols look intimidating or they don't make sense. They will make sense, and this is what cheat sheet looks like. Has all the symbols of what everything does. You do exactly what it says, and it's perfect. It even has a little explanation on how the ghost cards work down there, and what every single village spot does in terms of their special abilities.
So requesting the help is just using the ability on the tile.
Right. So if Jeb moves his blue guy to this, he would be able to use that ability if he wanted to.
Yep. And then the big fat or condition is, instead of using the ability, if I say I had moved here instead, and we have a ghost over here, right?
Yep.
I could attempt to exorcise that ghost. And you can only exorcise an adjacent ghost, and you can't do the exorcise action if you're on the center tile. So what this means is, this tile I could only exorcise ghost here.
Right.
But if I was here, I could exorcise a ghost there or there. So kind of the outer, or the corners are really good.
Yep. Because, to elaborate on what Jeb said, you don't have to pick either or. You can actually go after 2 ghosts at the same time if you're in the corner, and that's kind of huge in this game. So just to be clear, here you can go what's in front of you, here you can go here, or both.
Yeah.
And you, there's no reason to not go for both. You don't necessarily have to declare, hey, I'm going for this. You can roll, and if you take them out, you take them out. If you have you get what you need to get, which we'll get into in just a second, right, Jeff?
Yep. So the exercise action itself, what you do is you will, when you're next to an adjacent ghost and you say that you're going to exercise it, you start by rolling 3 Tau dice. So that's all of them. You will roll them. To succeed, you have to match the colors on the ghost's resistance on the card.
This is ghost resistance up here.
So that the one Mickey has is really bad because it's 3 greens. And what did he roll? He rolled a green, a blue, and a black. So the green counts, or the green die counts towards it.
Right.
The black die is wild, right? Or no?
Nope.
Oh,
no,
black
really,
is
it's black ghosts.
Oh, okay.
Mm-mm.
All right.
The white is
the white.
There is a wild, Jeb was remembering,
Okay.
but it's the white one. The black actually has a colored ghost. So white is a wild on it. Everything else reflects its color. The red really stinks because it actually looks orange to me, but the yellow is pretty clear. So, anyways, you have blue, green, red, yellow, black, and white on your die. And as Jeb said, at least on that roll, I only got a green. But Jeb, what if that was the only thing? Is there a possibility of me being able to get rid of that ghost?
Yep. Say you had some of the Tau tokens. Like, remember when you started, you had a black and a green. You could use any number of your Tau tokens to help out.
Right.
So, say in this case, Mickey had 2 green Tau tokens.
If I had acquired another one from the beginning of the game, I could spend both of those.
Yep.
And the die, and I satisfied the requirement. So this ghost goes away, which means the card and the figure are gone.
And if there's a reward on the ghost, then that would happen.
And that would be in the bottom right-hand corner. If there was a reward, I would get that now.
You can also use Tau tokens if an ally is on your tile. So if Mickey and I were on the same tile and he exercised a ghost, he could use one of my Tau tokens. Or any of mine, right?
I believe that's correct.
The third step of the Yang phase is placing a Buddha. So if you have a Buddha statue, say you acquired it before and you have one now, if you have it, you can place it, the Buddha statue into an empty ghost zone. So as Mickey said earlier, on the player boards, there are the places for the cards, but in the center of that is a picture for the Buddha statue. So that's where you would place the Buddha statue.
So a Buddha, and remember it has to be empty. You can't put so
right.
A Buddha you can save your corners. If you think something bad's going to come into the center, it doesn't really matter. You'll come up with your own strategies. But he's really cool because what does he do, Joe?
Ghosts that are placed on the Buddha statue are discarded, and the statue returns to the temple.
So, if he was sitting on that red spot, and I drew on my turn a red card, this is all empty. I can put it on any spot that I want, but I'm looking at it and I'm saying, well, his difficulty's a 2. That might be a little bit difficult. All the red towels are spent. So I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to put him on the center one. So the Buddha would go back to his temple. This would just get discarded. However, if I thought this was easy, I might put it on one of the side ones and leave the Buddha for a tougher ghost in the future.
Yep. And then one thing to note about the Buddha token, or the Buddha statues, is that you can hold 2 of them at once, but for that step in the Yang phase, you can only place 1 from a previous turn down. So you have to keep that in mind. You can't throw.
Right. So the turn that you get the Buddha, you cannot play it at the end of your turn.
Yep. And then that's it for the Yang phase, the steps of it. But there are a couple things that we want to mention, like the Yin Yang token. You can spin that to use any villager ability on the board, or you can flip a face down tile face up.
And that's a good
time
time to talk about that right now. Let's back up just a little bit and say that card is still on the board. Actually, let me show you exactly how that works. Okay? Let's say that I draw this card. I put it down. If it has the haunting symbol, it automatically, when it comes out, the ghost gets placed there. No, the ghost does not get placed on the card. When it comes into play, it gets placed there. Okay? It's a center ability, so every time it's the green player's turn, that ghost is going to move up 1. So let's say that he moved up and went all the way around again. Nobody was able to exercise this ghost. he moves into here. What happens when he moves into here? This village tile gets flipped over, and the ghost goes back to the card. I was going to say, let's say that we're really unlucky, and this guy makes it all the way up to here again, comes back around, still in play, and he gets to here. It's going to flip the middle one. It keeps haunting in a straight line and flipping things over until you get rid of him, and then he would go back to the card. Now, what happens if a third one gets flipped, Jim?
The third one flips, we lose.
There you go! So that's one of the lose conditions. So you need to, obviously there's abilities that can help you get these tiles back. But
Yeah, like the yin yang token I was talking about, you can either spend it to use any ability on the board, or you could actually flip the tile face up, so that helps prevent losing.
And remember, you only start the game with one of these, so use them wisely. And flipping a village tile is a lot of times a really good thing to do, especially if a tile that has an ability that you guys, as you play, really like. If it goes away, oops. So, yep, it ought, and there is no order when you can use the yin yang. It's boom, you can just use it.
Also, there is death. So, if your player dies, all belongings are lost. The figure gets placed lying down on the cemetery, and you can only talk to other players. So, how does death occur?
For the player?
It's when you run out of chi tokens, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was reading something. Sorry.
No worries. So if you run out of chi tokens, you die, you lose all your belongings, you place your figure laying down on the cemetery, and you can only talk to other players. You can be brought back to life.
Is this the cemetery?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So because there is a way to.
There is an ability that will bring back a person from the dead. When you're dead, your board becomes possessed.
Once you're dead, like Jeb said, you lose all your belongings. You go to the cemetery. You still get to deliberate with your other players, and if you guys make it, you still considered win, even if you're dead, I think. Yep. And if your board is possessed, then steps 1 and 2 in the yin phase must be played, and the other players will have to suffer the effects and the consequences from the ghost on the board. So your possessions go away, the ghosts stay, and you still have to do 1 and 2 of the yin phase.
Okay. And then the last thing, really quick to mention, is that the incarnation of Wu-Feng, that card, he is not affected by the Buddha, so you can't just place his card on the Buddha and say you win.
Yeah, that's a pretty important one.
Yeah, and then also there's the Sorcerer's Hut, which is one of the tiles. That ability does not work on Wu-Feng.
And if you're wondering what the Sorcerer's Hut does, just because you get to send any ghost in play to the discard, so obviously they're not going to let you do that with the endgame card, because he's pretty tough.
Yep. And then, speaking of in-game, the players win if they exercise Wu-Feng, obviously.
That's the only way we can win.
Here's all the defeat conditions. The first way is that if all Taoists die, so if everybody's dead, we lose. If the third location gets haunted, we lose. And then if the last ghost in the ghost deck is put into play while Wu-Feng remains unexercised, we lose that way.
Yep. So you can't run out of the deck either.
Yeah. And then some miscellaneous things about the game. Players are able to keep score. It came with a score sheet that if you want to do that, you can. We're not going to bother with that. There's special rules for 1 to 3 players. So if you don't have 4 people, then there's, like Mickey said, there's a dummy. You just make whatever players are missing, they're dummy players. Also, the player boards we mentioned before, each color has 2 powers, 1 on each side.
So the neutral power token, basically if you have one of these, in addition to your own power, you can use the power of another person, not a village thing.
Right. And it's a person that's not possessed.
Right, not possessed, so they have to be alive.
For the possessed or neutral boards, just a reminder is if they ever suffer a chi loss, it's suffered by other players instead.
It says the players suffer all the effects, so
Okay.
I guess you would have to decide. I've never thought about the chi part before. We just usually lose before that.
Well, if it's possessed, yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was there's higher difficulties to this game, so you can
my
make
gosh.
it more difficult if you want. I think that involves more incarnation?
Yeah, because if like some of the wording and stuff talks about if it's the first time you've seen Wang Fu, and I'm like, what? And you can actually add more of his incarnations to make the game harder. I will say I almost won one time. I was down to a dice roll and it just didn't hit. It was pretty epic. But yeah, that's hopefully that can get you going. The rules in this book I think are pretty clear, and the cheat sheet is awesome. So if you understood what we were talking about during setup, I think you can probably just jump right in and look up the symbols, and I think we did let you know how pretty much the mechanics work.
Did you say that there was something at setup that you wanted to mention?
What you want to do during setup is you take the 10 Wu-Feng cards and you select one, okay? And then you take the ghosts and you take out 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright? You place this on the top, and then you place the rest of the ghost cards on top of that. So you're going to always have to go through 45 cards before you hit Wu-Feng, and the reason for that is, and we'll mention it again during the explanation, is because you have to get to him, and then you have to exercise him before the rest of the deck runs out. So if you randomize that bottom, you'd kind of be, I mean, if he was the last card that came out, you'd have, even if he was the second to the last, you'd probably not going to win. So just know that as soon as you hit him, you're only going to have 10 turns.
Okay. Alright, so I think that's about everything for the game. So we'll get a game going, and you can see how we fare against Wu-Feng.
Alright, so we're back. And we've done the initial board setup. We've given everybody their tokens, so Jeb's the blue player. He has all his blue parts plus one black in his life. Yep. Say hello to Kim. Kim's here.
Hello.
No Haley today, so you will get to see how a dummy player works in this game. I will be playing the green Taoist, and the dummy player is the red Taoist. The red Taoist gets 3 life. And the way the dummy player works is basically he has to do step 1 and 2. He doesn't do step 3, which is actually bringing a card into the game. So he has to check his board for ghost abilities, and those go off, and then, what is step 2 again? Board see if there's a board overrun. So basically he just, he makes the ghost actions go off, and then he doesn't really do anything else. He doesn't bring ghosts into play, which is nice, but being down a person is not nice in a way.
Oh, Mickey, there's already 3 ghosts on the table.
There is.
Yeah.
Oh, look, ghost drinks. Jeb, what's in a ghost drink?
It is whiskey, vanilla rum, and creamy soda.
It's yummy too. So those ghosts are good. The
Not
rest
like
of
the
the ghosts
ones
are
that
bad.
are coming out.
So just a reminder real quick, I'm going to shuffle these cards. I'm going to deal 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to take Wu-Feng, whatever his name is. Kim's going to pick one out for us.
That was the hardest one of all.
we're going to put that on top of those 10 cards, the rest of the ghosts, and I will let Jeb have the honor of keeping track of the ghosts. The rest of those will go out of the way.
We've got our 3 characters in the center. We randomly drew the tiles, and there's the 2 Buddhas. Everybody has their 4 chi, the 2 Tao tokens, their color in the black, their yin yang ability, and their blocker, or ability blocker.
Yep. We'll let you know what our powers are real quick. I picked the green board with the side of an extra die, and I never have to roll the curse die.
For mine, I can either use, when I'm on a tile, I can use the ability twice, or I can perform 2 exorcisms. So normally, a normal person can only do one or the other. I can do 2 of one or the other. Yeah.
So just real quick, when you see us doing exorcisms, if Jeb's here, there's a ghost here. The first time he does an exorcism, if he fails, he can try it again on that ghost. Also, like we explained during the rules, if he was in the corner, he could try. You can always try to do both of them, but with Jeb's ability, he can go full force at one and then take another turn for the other one instead of having to defeat both all in one roll. So it's really good. Kim has the yellow Taoist. So Kim's ability, do you remember what it is, Kim?
So at the beginning of my turn, I get to take one of these colored tokens, whichever one I want for free.
The Tao tokens, she's allowed, every single turn, she's allowed to take one from the supply, any color she wants.
And the red guy, his ability is the person who activates it can move anywhere on the board, and we might be able to use his ability at some point.
Right. Okay, so one other thing that we have to do in a 3-player game, Jeb, is we need to randomly remove 5 ghost cards from the deck. Thank you for helping us out a little bit, game.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just took the top 5 off. So, since it's a 3-player game, everybody's going to get one.
I'll start it off, and then the game goes in clockwise order. So, I'm the green person, so I'm doing step 1. I'm checking the ghosts in front of me. Oh, look, there's no ghosts in front of me. So, their powers don't go off. My board is not overrun, so I will draw a card from the deck. It's a yellow. We will place, it's a yellow 4.
Oh.
That's really bad. So I'm going to go ahead and place it in a corner on Kim's card. So we'll place it over there. The good thing about it is that it's just filling our board. It doesn't do anything every turn.
Right.
So we've got some time to build up to be able to deal with it. And so now it's my turn, and I'm not going to attempt to exercise that, but I think what I will do is I will go to, you know what, I'm just going to go right away over to here, oops, I'm green, and take a Buddha. So remember, I get to take the Buddha, but I don't get to use it this turn. If I had this for a turn already, I would be able to use it now and place it in one of the empty spaces. So that's going to conclude my turn. It's Jeb's turn.
My turn. Anything in front of me? Nope. Board not overrun. Arrival of a ghost. Bam, it's a red. And it is only a 1.
So coming into play, so you got to haunt again? Yep.
Alright. Should I put it in front of you that way in case you want to try to? Or?
Yeah, it works.
And then second, oh boy. It's a black one. And black goes in front of me, right?
Yes, first it has to go in front of you.
Alright. And that one, when it arrives, isn't when it arrives it moves in? So it is placed here, but then it moves in?
Yeah, it automatically goes to there. Now, it wasn't in play, so it doesn't haunt right away.
Yep, and that's it. For my turn, I am going to move here.
You know what I'm going to suggest. If you go here, this is the one where you can take one from the supply that's still a black, and you can put it on that one. So all the black ghost resistance would go down by 1, and you already have a black token, you'd have to hit 1 black. Now Jeb can make fun of me.
Yeah.
Now Mickey did it.